Welcome back to the best division in football. Y'all know what it is, man. The best television show not on TV. I am absolutely looking forward to this show today, man. My brother is going to be back in the building. Shout out to everybody that supported the off-season content. Shout out to everybody that was a part of the first annual AATB Fantasy Football Draft yesterday. A whole 16-man league. It was definitely a vibe. The season is here, y'all. We kick off NFL action tonight with the Dallas Cowboys headed over to Philly to the Link to take on the Philadelphia Eagles without one of their best players, Micah Parsons. I know Cowboys fans are definitely feeling some kind of way right now, man. And on Sunday, the New York Giants traveling down here to the DMV to take on the Beards, Washington Commanders. So without further ado, let me bring in my brother from another mother. Shout out to my Dukes one time. He for real is the man, the myth, the legend. Y'all know what it is, man. The best co-host in the country. The Beard is in the building. What's going on, my dog?
It feels tremendous. This is like we went live and I had butterflies and I'm just like, football's back. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning to feed the baby and the first thing that came to my mind was football's back. Authentic and the Beard is back. So I'm extremely excited. It's been a very interesting offseason, to say the least, for I think every team in the NFC East, minus maybe the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's a lot to talk about, obviously. Before we get started, I do have to give an extreme, amazing, huge, big shout out to Authentic himself. Because as I had a baby, for those of you that don't know, I am a father now. I had a baby, and Authentic has been putting his boot in the ground, his knuckles in the dirt, holding down the fort, doing amazing work for the Giants this offseason, for all of you people who are supporters and part of the Authentic and the Beard family. So I have to give a big shout out to Authentic for holding it down while I was changing diapers and, all that jazz. So big shout out to Authentic. Authentic is the Godfather now. He's the Godfather. He's the Godfather of my son.
I was low-key the Godfather before that. You know what I'm saying?
So no, it's been a wild off season, and I'm excited to get back in the swing of things. It's been a weird feeling here in Washington D.C. as for Commanders fans. Obviously, we got down to the wire here with the Terry McLaurin thing. I was never really worried, concerned maybe a little bit towards the end there, but
Facts.
Never really worried. So it's been a wild ride. There's a lot of anticipation here in Washington. It's probably the most highly anticipated season for the Washington franchise, whether it be Redskins, Commanders, football team, whatever, in probably 25 years or so. So it's pretty exciting time here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's definitely going to be a vibe this year. New York Giants are kind of trying to play catch-up here. We're going to be previewing the Giants taking on the Commanders. That'll be the first game we preview within the NFC East, and then we'll take it to the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. But kind of wanted to just start the show off with a bit of a NFC East rival type of vibe here with a question I think will spark some interest from the chat as well. What is your view on the landscape of the NFC East entering the 2025 season? I mean, you guys are coming off a lot of success here. I know y'all are feeling yourselves. I've been seeing the temperature with the Washington Commanders fan base on social media, and you guys are feeling like not only is your team headed in the right direction, but you guys have a possibility to possibly make that jump and maybe go from NFC East championship participant to possibly maybe winning that game and maybe being headed towards a Super Bowl. But just give me a general landscape of how you feeling about the NFC East here, and then I'll kind of give you my opinion on it. But how you feeling? Where the Washington Commanders kind of reside within the division? They did finish second in the division last season, with the Dallas Cowboys finishing third with 7 wins. New York Giants in the basement with just 3 wins on the season. I've been religiously saying on this channel that the New York Giants from 2024 should not have been a 3-win team, but you are what your record says you are. How you feeling things are going to shape out for the Washington Commanders here in the NFC East in 2025?
Well, this is the thing. You know me, I'm a realist. I'm not necessarily, I'll joke every once in a while, we'll ride the line sometimes, and I'm clearly have been deemed a Dallas Cowboy hater, although I was finally correct last season on the downfall of the Dallas Cowboys. But it's hard for you to sit here and be like, am I crazy to think that Washington's a Super Bowl contender? So I put up a poll. I said, do you view Washington Commanders as a Super Bowl contender, a playoff team, or Cancun trip planning? And it was I think it was like 47% playoff team, 44% Super Bowl contender, and then the small portion of haters thinking that we won't make the playoffs. And so there's a lot of things to take into consideration.
That word always rubs me the wrong way.
Haters?
Haters.
Okay.
You know how they say, like, the Caucasian community redefined the word woke? Because woke was a good thing for us back in the day.
It was a big thing.
It has changed. I feel, with the football community, we have redefined the word hater. And haters just like, hey, I'm not rooting for you. But at the end of the day, if I don't like it, I don't like it. That don't mean that I'm hating.
No,
that's a bar from Common that a lot of people need to know about.
That's a good point. So we're gonna have to figure out another word for the haters then. The non-believers.
The non-believers. I like that.
So it's tough for me to sit here and say that, because yes, the schedule was fairly easy last year. Yes, we converted more fourth downs than any other team in the NFL history at a higher percentage than anybody ever, right? Yes, we won on a Hail Mary. We barely beat the Saints. Like, there's so many of those game of inches analogies that you can use from last season. But when it came down to it, in the playoffs, albeit we shit the bed as an NFC championship game because we beat ourselves with all those fumbles, we still made it there. We beat teams on the road in the playoffs, which is not easy. And did we get better? That's always the question, especially when you were in a position that you were in last year in an NFC championship game.
I don't even think that's the question because I think every team within the division can say they got better.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
Not the Philadelphia Eagles coming off a Super Bowl victory, lost a lot of pieces on that defense, right? But I think all the teams got better. The difficult part is gauging which teams got better and how drastic that range has either increased or decreased. Now, Giants are coming off a 3-win season here. Commanders are coming off a 12-win season. So getting better might not necessarily mean that it shows up on the record, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I can confidently sit up here and say that the New York Giants are going to win more games in 2025 than they did in 2024, even with the difficulty of the schedule that is being presented here.
Everybody's schedule is difficult, too, as we were talking about backstage.
The schedules are definitely tough. For me, I view it like this, just to kind of round this out. I view it as the New York Giants are going to be a team at their ceiling could be a 10-win, 11-win team, but I'm not expecting that, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of my homies around the social media community, I've been telling them, man, like, I'm not sipping that Kool-Aid until it is stirred, mixed, and ready to pour. And I want it to be stirred and mixed in boiling water first so that the Kool-Aid can dissolve throughout the water properly. And by the time I drink it, I'm not getting to the bottom of a cup that's just full of sugar.
Are you adding sugar to your Kool-Aid?
You got to. Come on, brother.
Just want to make sure. For those people out there that don't know, that's a thing here.
It's a staple. It's definitely a staple. We gotta be a mixologist when it comes to the way that we concocting this Kool-Aid, right? At the end of the day, though, I got the Giants being a 7-win team. I don't know if that's going to be good enough to be better than the Dallas Cowboys, to be honest. The Dallas Cowboys are coming off 7 wins last year without their starting quarterback in the lineup. You might deem it as the downfall of the Dallas Cowboys. I think this year will be that defining year of whether or not this will be a downfall. We'll be looking at things like the Micah Parsons trade. We'll be looking at things like the Dak Prescott contract being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and if he can live up to that. And I think most importantly, and not to let the cat out the bag too much, but on the offensive side of the ball, how much can George Pickens bring to that offense that will replace the missing pieces that they have lost along that defense? I see this division shaking out basically the same exact way that it did in 2024. Minus, I do think that second spot is a little bit up for grabs. I think that, to answer this question that we see on the screen too, I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to repeat as NFC East division winners, finally, to be that first team that does that in 21 years within the division. I think spot 2 is kind of up for grabs. If the Giants can go out there and play to their capabilities and Russell Wilson can revive his career and maybe play the quarterback position the way that we saw him 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I think the Giants have a chance at taking that second spot. Again, I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid just yet. I think that the Washington Commanders at the same time could be a team that obviously got better on paper but could take that step back as far as the wins go. As you stated, as I've stated, the schedule is extremely tough. But to give a ballpark, if I had to put some money down right now, I'm going with the division shaking out the exact same way as it did last year with the Philadelphia Eagles finishing first, the Washington Commanders finishing second, Dallas Cowboys finishing third, New York Giants finishing fourth. I'm going to wait until the New York Giants surprise me. This week one matchup is so important to the future of how we dictate what we're seeing on that football field for the 2025 season. If the Giants go out there and shock the Commanders week one, we're going to be headed to Dallas for a week two matchup on the road to be able to go up in the division 2-0. That is exactly how the New York Giants got off to a great start in 2022, and our last playoff berth was, cooked up.
I was very close to going in the same direction you were. I went back and forth with this pretty much all off season. My tiebreaker was the fact that there's just nobody wins back-to-back divisions in the NFC East. And this is, the best division in football. And I feel like the NFC East just might be back. We'll see how Dallas Cowboy, they rebound after all these year after year of horrible contract decisions, which has kind of put them in the position that they're in right now, but we'll save that for another day. I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders. I think that offense is just going to be so damn good. It's hard for me to bet against it. Now, I got them winning 12 games. I think Philly comes in right behind us at 11 wins. And then I actually think the New York Giants finished third in the division. I got them at 8-9 and the Cowboys at 8-9. I think the Giants basically get third place off of a tiebreaker. So I got both of those teams at 8-9 and the Washington Commanders winning the division at 12-5.
As it stands today, I think that one's not going to age well. As it stands today.
Which part?
Basically,
all of it?
All of it. Because look. Basically, what you're saying is there's not going to be a team within the NFC East division that has less than 8 wins. That's the part that I think is going to age bad. There's going to be a team here in the basement, 4, 5, 6 wins. I don't see, the Dallas Cowboys and the Giants finishing at the bottom of the division, but having 8 wins. I think that's the part that's going to be a little bit tricky. Commanders, 12 back-to-back seasons of 12 wins, y'all gonna start to be looking like them old school Cowboys here.
Somebody asked ChatGPT because I don't think that's ever happened before.
Yo, man, look, I use ChatGPT occasionally, man. Fuck ChatGPT right now. It's a good tool, don't get me wrong, right? But you know how many times as of late, today I had to correct ChatGPT about 4 times. It would give me back the data, and I would be like, that's wrong. And then ChatGPT tells me, authentic. Actually, you're right. Upon further research, motherfucker, I wanted the further research right off the bat. What is
do you talk to your ChatGPT?
I don't speak to it. No, I type everything in.
I have it with voice, so I can have a conversation with him. I call him Chad and everything.
You call him Chad GPT. I like that. The way I do it is I added the extension to the browser, so it's always on the bottom left. I can just slide it out in a little column and then be able to type in whatever I want. But I'm waiting for ChatGPT to get a little bit more accurate. Before we get off into this first breakdown with the New York Giants headed to the DMV to take on the Washington Commanders, let's take this super chat from the homie one-time independent outsider.
Oh, we get to do this. I haven't done this in a long time. It's so much fun. Big shout out to the independent outsider, Mr. Dave Denton, with the $4.99 super chat. Says, are we vulnerable to the short pass versus Washington? Or can we get decent tight end coverage? Linebacker pass coverage concerns me a little bit.
Now, I know you got a pretty deep section about the tight end position here, but just briefly, my thoughts on this are, one, the Commanders are coming into this game banged up at the tight end position. Zach Ertz didn't participate in practice on Wednesday, so I think that's something to monitor. They got a couple of guys, behind Zach Ertz that they thought were going to be guys that could come into the league. One, when I'm thinking about Ben Sinnott, as a guy that could come into the league as a sleeper and be a contributor right off the bat, that really did not happen for them. Yeah. So I think if Zach Ertz can't go, I think Washington will kind of, angle their approach on offense a little bit differently than attacking the tight end and attacking. Short pass, I think, will be a thing, but it'll be more of a wide receiver thing than it will be a tight end thing in this game.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you 100%. I wouldn't be so concerned about covering the tight end position for the Giants defense as much as I would be a Deebo Samuel and the running backs out of the backfield. I think that would be your more concern as far as short pass game and intermediate pass game. And that sort of play design structure from the offensive coordinator in Washington. Outside of that, I don't think you necessarily should be concerned about the tight end position. There's another guy on the team you should probably be worried about a little bit more.
Big facts. And we got one here from Door Gunner as well.
Big shout out to Door Gunner. Go, 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 go. With the $2 super chat. Says Russ body bag game loading. I listen. There's some
That
question
could-
marks.
That could mean two ways here. Russ
Oh,
might
does
be
he
bringing
fry
a
us?
fucking body bag
Does he
to
put us in a
DMV
body
right now.
bag? I hope not. But listen, I don't think any body bags are going to be exiting in week 1 quite yet. But Kevin Garnett said, anything's possible. All right, so you just never know.
Big facts. And Door Gunner says here
Big-
that
big-
Ertz doesn't practice.
Big shout out to Door Gunner with the $2 super chat.
That.
That's the Door Gunner on the airplane.
I need
I've
to
been
get you some
watching.
on this board here.
I've been watching a lot of you know what I'm saying, war movies.
I would have
lately.
preferred a.
Okay. That's a good sound effect. Who needs soundboards when you have Authentic in the beard? $2 super chat says Zach Ertz never practices on Wednesdays during the season.
Hey, we'll see. He better be practicing stepping his foot on that field on Sunday, because if not, I think that's going to definitely heighten the New York Giants' chances of winning this game here one time. All right, Beard, you ready for this, man? I'm ready for this. Like,
I think Ron Burgundy sent us a super chat too.
we'll get to Ron Burgundy super chat after. I don't want the replay value to be all super chats. Motherfucker turn in and be like, man, what are you motherfuckers just counting dollars up on this show? What the hell's going on here? All right, so we'll get to that. We'll get to that super chat mid-section here, but I definitely want to get off into this recap, starting off with the New York Giants, man, traveling down 95 to Northwest Field to take on the Washington Commanders. Beard, I'm loving this new vibe here. I can't wait for you to see this one here.
He's elevated an otherwise average roster, made him a viable Super Bowl contender.
They have, statistically, I think the hardest schedule in the NFL.
I like the team. I like the chemistry. I like the leadership. We had a good training camp. We had a good spring. Now we're 2 weeks away. We have to go out and do it.
Hand off, Gallup off the right side, corner, across midfield, to the 40, to the 30.
You said for some reason with Jaden Daniels, the rookie rules don't apply.
Goes wide open and Slate runs out of attack with the 10, the 5, the 6, the touchdown.
All right, y'all. New York Giants.
My hat off to you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Produced that beat just the other day. That beat could roll throughout the background of the whole damn stream, and I'd be good with it. But the New York Giants, man, finished last year 3-14, taking on the Washington Commanders at 12-5 last season. Ultimately ended up in the national championship game, or the NFC championship game. Kickoff is Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, man. The Washington Commanders, I know a lot of people in the DMV area feel that they are flying under the radar a little bit here, and people aren't taking the Washington Commanders as seriously as we should coming off that NFC championship game. The reboot that got rid of Dan Schneider. Oh, my God, man. We haven't heard that name in a little bit here. Josh Harris comes in, hires Dan Quinn. Washington Commanders see success right off the bat in their first season, largely in part due to the play of their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and the chemistry that he had with Cliff Kingsbury. Commanders ultimately end up finishing second in the division, and, man, they have made some upgrades in the offseason here. They traded for left tackle Lermy Tunsil. They drafted right tackle Josh Connolly Jr. out of Oregon with the 29th overall selection. They traded for Deebo Samuel. They drafted wide receiver Jalen Lane out of Virginia Tech in the 4th round. And the Washington Commanders are trying to check some of these boxes that kept them out of the Super Bowl last season, realizing that they have a quarterback in Jaden Daniels that they can build around on that rookie contract, and they're trying to make that push immediately. You got to respect the way that the front office has approached building this team so far. And as a New York Giants fan, I can't say that I'm fearful, but I am concerned about this game, because I think that this game will dictate the trajectory of the entire Giants season. You go out there and you get smoked by the Washington Commanders in week 1, you're already going to see people start talking about Jackson Dart coming in the game and the Boo Birds and all that. You know, the expectation of a poor team in 2025 will be here. The Giants ended up finishing last in the NFC East, and the Commanders swept the Giants last season. To add insult to injury, not only did we get swept by the Commanders, we got swept by the Dallas Cowboys, we got swept by the Philadelphia Eagles, and we didn't win a fucking game in the division last year. Not a good look, man. And, you say it's a whole lot of sweeping. It's definitely time to kind of clean this shit up and for the New York Giants to get back on track here. And Brian Dable is now entering his 4th season with the Giants, and it was a season last year where a lot of people were calling for his job. And I know that the temperature has changed a little bit around the New York Giants fan base. But if you wheel back to about, let's say, week 16, week 17, when we were playing the Indianapolis Colts, most people wanted to lose that game, myself included, to try to get our quarterback at number 1 in the draft. It all kind of ended up working out for the Giants, right? We dodged a bullet by not drafting Shedeur Sanders. I have the video up on the channel. I hope y'all got to check that out, where after looking at all the tape on Shedeur, I thought that it would be a bad idea to draft him 3rd overall. The Giants ultimately end up getting Abdul Carter at the 3rd overall selection, and then they trade back into the 1st round to get Jackson Dart. And it's almost as if all the New York Giants fan base has completely forgot about the poor start that Brian Daboll has had to his career. 18-32-1. It's the 5th worst winning percentage in New York Giants history at 36%. To add insult to injury again, right? It's like we just went to the blue tent for a concussion and somebody accidentally knocked over the tent and it fell on us, okay? 4-13-1 within the division. A good chunk of those wins coming against the Washington Commanders during the Daniel Jones era, pre the Jaden Daniels era. Just 4 wins in 18 divisional games. That's not going to get it done. Now, I got a plug that hit me up recently. This plug is, I would say, about a good 75-25 here. That one, I'll start off with the easier news. He said that during the preseason, and he's in a group thread with some people that are very credible, that during the preseason, plenty of teams were calling the New York Giants trying to trade for Joshua Ezeudu after his performance throughout the preseason. That's one portion of the news. The other portion of the news that I got is that Andrew Thomas is absolutely going to be ruled out in week 1. I have not heard anybody else say that. There's been, people tiptoeing around it saying Andrew Thomas is not practicing, but most New York Giants fans are looking forward to seeing Andrew Thomas get on that field because we know what it can be like for this offensive line and the uphill climb that they will have if Andrew Thomas is not on that field. I'd expect James Hudson III to be the guy that will replace him, whether it be Jermaine Illuminor moving to left tackle or whether it be James Hudson moving to left tackle and keeping Jermaine Illuminor out there at right tackle. Regardless, I think James Hudson's going to be on the field week 1 against the Commanders. That's going to be tough for the New York Giants to get over, already starting, with the Washington Commanders having a head start in this game. Now, there's a lot to talk about in this game, and me and the Beard are going to break this down real nicely for y'all. The first thing I want to start off with is RTDB versus STDR. Somebody in the chat might be saying, what the hell is a STDR? Most of y'all know what RTDB is. STDR stands for Stop the Damn Run. So the New York Giants got to do 2 things if they want to stay in this game. They got to run the damn ball, and they got to stop the damn run, which ultimately will have us controlling the time of possession in this game and keeping the best player possibly on the entire field off the field in Jaden Daniels. We all know about the New York Giants rush defense from last season. It was poor. Ranked 26th in the NFL. They were allowing 136.2 rushing yards per game, but I got some more nuggets for you on this one. They allowed 215 rushing yards in the first matchup versus Washington, 6.1 yards per carry, and 35 attempts. And then they allowed 149 rushing yards in the second matchup versus Washington, 3.9 yards per carry. But the problem is when you're allowing a team like the Commanders to run the ball 38 times. That's the Beard's number, that 30 number. Sometimes it was 40.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Where we would want to get that number on the roadmap so that the Washington Commanders could get to their victory. Now, I don't know if the New York Giants have done enough defensively to be able to stop the run. I think they've definitely tried their best for sure, and you got to applaud Joe Schoen for the moves that he made in the offseason. Everybody's excited about the pass rush, right? Drafted Abdul, brought in Darius Alexander in the 3rd round. You brought in Chauncey Golston from Dallas. You brought in Roy Robertson Harris. You still got Burns, Kayvon, Dexter Lawrence. Stopping the run is going to be the first step in this game that will be the biggest major step of this game. If you cannot stop the run, I don't think that the New York Giants are really going to have a chance in this game. Stopping the run is going to allow our 2 new defensive backs to be able to put their best foot forward. Javon Holland, 3 years, $45 million. That is not cheap. That's a lot of money.
I love him. He's a really good ball player. It's going to be interesting to see how he fits in with you guys this year.
It is. And coming off that injury, I think he needs to have a bounce-back year. I think when people think about Javon Holland, they think about the first 2 seasons. They don't think about Javon Holland post the 2 MCL sprains that he had on the MetLife turf against the Jets right after he took an interception pick 6 to the house for 100 yards. He's a guy that has to show up this year. $30 million guaranteed on that contract. Paulson Adebo coming over from the Saints. 3 years, $54 million, $38.5 million of that guaranteed. But Paulson Adebo is a guy that when he's on the field, he's been very productive. In just 22 games over the last 2 seasons, Adebo had 29 forced incompletions. Guess where that ranks in the NFL?
Fourth?
First.
How many
First.
interceptions? Is he an interception guy? Because
He's
I know
an interception
that
guy
was
too.
that was
7
a big
interceptions
problem
during that span. That's fourth in the NFL during that span over, in just 22 games. So I think that if you can get to the quarterback, if you can stop the run with those pass rushers that we brought in that everybody's raving about could be a top 10, maybe a top 5 unit, and I do agree with that. But if they can stop the run primarily, it'll help everything else fall right into place. It'll allow them to be able to pin their ears back on third down and be able to try to get after Jaden Daniels. It'll allow this secondary to not have to cover on the back end of this defense for 5, 6, 7 seconds, whatever it may be. We know that Jaden Daniels can extend plays. Now, you might be, and when I say you, I don't mean you, the Beard, but as a fan of the New York Giants, you might be looking at the pass defense from last year, and you might say to yourself, oh, they were top 10 in, passing yards allowed per game. Great, but that is straight up smoke and mirrors, right? Because most of the time in the second half, teams were running the ball against the New York Giants. They were 31st in interceptions with just 5. They were 30th in passer rating allowed. They were 31st in opponents' completion percentage. You're allowing teams to complete the ball at almost 70% clip. That is not going to get it done in the NFL. 27th in opponent yards per attempt at 7.1 yards per attempt. So for me, this is all about stopping that run, secondary, getting after the quarterback with that pass rush, and then putting the Commanders in the most predictable situations as possible so that we know that on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, how many times last year did we talk about this, Beard, about Jaden Daniels in situations where it was 3rd and 8 or longer, still finding ways to be able to convert on third down? So just by doing those things, it doesn't mean that the New York Giants are going to be able to stop the Commanders on third down. But I do think that if the Giants want a shot in this game, that's where it's going to start. We can talk about the offense here in a little bit. We can talk about the playmakers, the weapons, the explosive plays, all of that stuff, the takeaways, the third down, the red zone, all of that. But I think if the New York Giants can't stop the run, it's going to be very difficult for them to have a chance in this game, a la how it was in week 2 last season where Brian Robinson put up his first 100-yard game. But with that said,
do you spy on Jaden Daniels?
You can. I mean, you can. People have experimented with talking about having Abdul Carter be the guy that would be the spy. I only think that's an option if Abdul Carter is going to be playing a little bit of off-ball linebacker. Listen, I think Abdul Carter, we all know, it's kind of like what the Dallas Cowboys coach said about Jalen Hyatt. Like, we know what your skill set is. Abdul Carter is very similar in that regard. I'm not saying he's a Jalen Hyatt of his position, but he is very similar in that regard. His best asset is pinning his ears back and getting after the quarterback. We experimented with him a little bit at 3-tech in the preseason, and we saw teams run right at him. We saw the Jets have a lot of success where on their first 2 drives of the game, they had 10 runs to 1 pass with Justin Fields, and they were literally just running right at Abdul Carter on third downs. He had his welcome to the NFL moment. I think that most importantly, you can spy Jaden, but it's going to be important to contain him from the edge. Jaden Daniels is not the kind of quarterback that likes to climb up the middle of the pocket and then run. He does things from the outside. So that's how I view at least, stopping the run and that being the number 1 priority for the New York Giants in this game, and then everything else could kind of fall in peace. With that said, though, how do you see the Washington Commanders approaching their attack offensively to try to exploit this New York Giants revamped defense?
Well, we're going to be without Brian Robinson Jr. You mentioned it, right? And this is, I feel like that was something we talked about time and time again, throughout the last year and a half or so, where we talked about Brian Robinson was the identity of this team. Like, the team went through Brian Robinson, and that run game was super important. And obviously, last year we were the 3rd best rushing team in the league, and a lot of that had to do with Jaden Daniels, obviously. Adding in that extra aspect of a running quarterback will make your team a better running team. That's why you see Baltimore Ravens, number 1 rushing team in the league, Lamar Jackson. Philadelphia Eagles, number 2 rushing team in the league, Jalen Hurts. Washington Commanders. So it helps a lot having that. Now, excuse me, everybody in the league, well, not the league, but outside the league here in D.C., everybody's going crazy over Bill, right? And I like the kid. Don't get me wrong. I think he has a ton of talent. Obviously, he had a little bit of a injury history from last season before getting drafted and coming into the league.
An eligibility issue.
Ineligibility issue. So now we have to. Are we going to rely on him? It was really interesting because that depth chart came out. The first one, unofficial one, they had him as RB4. Now that has since changed. If you look at the current depth chart, he is RB2 behind.
Now,
Austin
when you
Eckler.
say looking at the current depth chart, is that on y'all site?
On ESPN, according to ESPN's depth chart,
that's the discrepancy right there.
He's number 2.
He's number 2. He's been number 2 on ESPN, but that was the discrepancy is when Washington released the depth chart, he was number 4. Now, in my fantasy leagues, I've been drafting Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt because he was on my radar from the Shrine Bowl, right? They're labeling that as one of the worst. I'm getting him in the 5th, 6th. They're like, that's the worst pick that you picked in the entire draft.
So I'm getting the same thing with Austin Eckler.
Which is weird because Austin Eckler is labeled as 1 on ESPN and on y'all depth chart, right? So we can expect Austin Eckler to at least bare minimum be the second role in the running back by committee. But with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I'm worried. Like, I was talking to Ben Ballion and Mike Swan about this. Like, what if he goes out there and they're going to prioritize the guys that have the experience in that running back room over him, Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez? Is he a guy that could possibly leave this game with just 2 to 3 touches, maybe 4 or 5 touches max?
He might not even be active. Let's go ahead and say that.
It's crazy.
That is a legitimate possibility that Bill is not active in this game. I think McNichols is active because of his special teams roles, and Eckler's obviously your number 1. I think Chris Rodriguez is the wild card here. I truly do. I think Chris Rodriguez has the potential to be, lead this team in rushing outside of, Jaden Daniels, Austin Eckler. I don't even know. That's the thing. How are they going to distribute the ball here?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know. You don't want to see Jaden Daniels doing too many designed runs. I think that's something that they're going to kind of fall back a little bit on. Yeah. Austin Eckler is very, versatile. He can catch the ball at the backfield. He can run the ball. But are we really going to feed the rock to Austin Eckler in between the tackles on, 3rd and 1,
This is my
3rd and
theory
2?
on it. My theory is they'll rush Austin Eckler as the main bell cow, I guess, of the running back by committee. He's going to be the leader of it until he gets banged up and he can't do it no more. So I think for like the first 5 to 6 games, you'll see Austin Eckler try to revitalize his role as a lead running back. But I think that the durability is a concern. You can't forget that Austin Eckler is a running back. Him and Alvin Kamara are the only 2 running backs that you can view that are of that status that have never rushed for 1,000 yards in their entire career. And looking up his numbers with the Chargers, I almost couldn't believe that Austin Eckler never had a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah,
this guy was
crazy.
pushing 20 touchdowns, in some of those seasons, but yet still not getting 1,000 yards. So that's good to hear from you because you more tapped in with the Commanders fan base. And for me as a New York Giants fan, it was a head scratcher. I'm just like, wait, the guy that I think is going to be the lead running back, not the third down running back role like a Austin Eckler, is now coming out on the preliminary depth chart as running back 4. Like, what is going on here?
I will tell you that earlier this week, he was running as RB2 at practice.
Yeah, and that is important. The reps that you take at practice more will insinuate what your role will be on game day. If you see, Krosky-Merritt taking third team reps, then okay, we can all pretty much but say like the dude's not going to play that much on Sunday.
And then now the other thing a lot of people aren't really talking about, because running the rock is this is what we love. We love running the rock, right? Like, running the ball is very important in the NFL. No matter how many times people will tell you this is the passing league. Yes, this is the passing league. But in order for you to participate in the passing league, you got to be able to run the ball, right?
Absolutely.
Like, that's how it works. That's how the game of football works, okay? So now you got Jaden Daniels, who's an obvious running threat, right? He's a different type of running threat too. Like, he's not going to necessarily look to run first, and I think a lot of people get that confused with running quarterbacks, right? Like, there's just this facade that people have about the way that quarterbacks play when they have the ability to run the ball. Okay, so you have Jaden Daniels, you have Bill, you have Eckler, you have Chris Rodriguez. I don't think McNichols is going to play a big role in running the ball, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Deebo Samuel. So you're looking at with Cliff Kingsbury and his style of offense, you're looking at potentially, like, now it's not necessarily about stopping the run. It's who's going to run the ball? Like, what happens when you got Debo, Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez, and Jaden Daniels all on the field at the same time? How do you attack that from the defensive side of the ball?
West Coast style. Y'all probably going to drop back, throw the ball on a 3-step drop, because a short passing game can supplement for a limited rushing attack, which I'm not necessarily saying you guys have that limited rushing attack, but it's interesting going into the season that there's still question marks like this at the running back position for you guys.
So that's my question for you, though, is I look at the New York Giants, and you talked about, one of the important keys for the Giants in this game is going to be RTDB and STDR, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at your team and your running backs, right, I feel like Singletary just kind of like disappeared from everybody's mind, right? Like when Tyrone Tracy, who we were both thought he had really good flashes last year when we were wondering why the hell he wasn't touching the ball more during the season last year.
Early on, at least.
Early on,
as soon as he played against the Seattle Seahawks, I remember coming up here and being like, yeah, that's RB1.
Exactly.
It was like that and I think the Seahawks game was week 5 maybe, week 4 or week 5 last year.
And then you draft Cam Scatterbo, right?
Yeah.
So where is – and I feel like, obviously we're going to talk about the quarterback position a little bit later, but I think that has a lot to do with – the style of run game that you're going to be able to participate in now moving forward. How are we distributing the carries in New York?
It's going to be Tyrone Tracy, a heavy dosage of Tyrone Tracy. I think simply because of the Devin Singletary contract, he's going to touch the ball. And if it was up to me, I'd give him, just sparing carries here and there to keep his value up so that by the time we get to the trade deadline in week 8, he has some type of value that we could possibly trade him to a running back needy team. But Devin Singletary this year is due like $4.5 million. The dead cap hit on him was also over $6 million. So they weren't in a position to be able to just throw that money away. So you kind of had to keep him on the roster. In my opinion, it was just a bad signing from day one. Mm-hmm. You talked about a 27-year-old running back in Saquon Barkley and how the data says that these guys decline at the age of 27, and then Joe Schoen went out there and signed Devin Singletary for a little bit cheaper at the age of 27. To me, that's just the philosophy behind that. Doesn't have a lot of critical thinking behind it. And now the out on his contract was after 2 seasons when the out should have been after the first season, especially when you were considering drafting a running back in that same year in Tyrone Tracy. So for me, Devin Singletary is going to have a very minimal role. Cam Scatterbo is coming off that injury, so I don't think he's going to be a guy that they're just going to thrust out there right away and give him a ton of carries week 1. I think against the Washington Commanders, you can expect to see Tyrone Tracy a ton. And I think it's important that the Giants get him the ball a lot, early and often. You talked about how the 3 top teams that have the dual threat quarterback, are the teams that lead the NFL in rushing. And countless times I've told you up here that we need to find a way to separate running back statistics by team along with the quarterback and how they, contribute to those rushing yards. Because when you put it together, I think there's not a lot of depth to that statistic, right? Obviously, teams that have dual threat quarterbacks are going to be at the top of the league. But when you look at rushing play percentage in general, and I talked about this on Bleach Report and I talked about this on a Giant Overreaction, 8 of the top 10 teams in rushing play percentage made the playoffs in 2024. Obviously, your Commanders were one of them. They were 7th with their rush play percentage at 47.4%. The other teams, Eagles, Ravens, Packers, Bills, Steelers, Commanders, Lions, Chargers, those are the 8. The 2 teams that made it here or that didn't make the playoffs were the Atlanta Falcons, who were basically a game out, and the Indianapolis Colts, who ended up playing the New York Giants with their playoff lives on the line and couldn't find a way to beat Drew Lock and the New York Giants.
You guys scored 48 points in that game?
Yeah, Drew Lock had 5 touchdowns in that game. It was pretty fascinating, to be honest. But, a lot of this, to me, is because the New York Giants aren't getting to the running game early. There are plenty of times last year when we would do our recaps where we're like, bro, why is Tyrone Tracy only getting the ball 3 times in the first half? Why are the Giants only rushing it 8 times in the first half? This dates back to Saquon Barkley, where we would be like, why is Saquon only touching the ball 6 times in the first half? And we got to find a way to dedicate to the run early and often. Be more balanced. The Giants were also 28th in second half rushing attempts as a team. That just means you're throwing the ball way too much in the second half. 28th in fourth quarter rushing attempts. The Giants' pass attempts more than double from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, right? And that just goes to show you that there's no balance. Yeah. The Giants passed the ball 98 times in the first quarter in 2024. They passed it 225 times in the fourth quarter. The number ramps up as you go from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. And I understand that you might have a scripted, set of plays to start the game, but at the end of the day, you got to be balanced. And I think that's something that Brian Daboll has lacked in a major way during his time here. Giants are always behind on the scoreboard as well. I think Brian Daboll, he has certain games where he's going against his grain, where he's like, we're going to just run the shit out of the ball. The New York Jets game comes to mind in 2023 where they didn't even throw the ball in the second half with Tommy DeVito. But it's always Brian Daboll being forced to do it rather than being proactive and just going out there and starting the game with a balanced passing and rushing attack here. Now, my thing is like this. If you want to be able to run the ball late, you have to score points early. That's just what it is. This is the basic common sense of that whole approach, right? You look at the New York Giants under Brian Daboll points per game. I'll start in 2024, 16.1. 2023, 15.6. Even in the playoff season in 2022, they averaged 21.5 points per game. Now, to speak more to the balance here, right? The Giants had just one first quarter passing touchdown in all of 2024. They had 4 rushing touchdowns in the first half in all of 2024.
It was bad. It was a lot of bad last year.
That was 29th in the NFL. So if you're not going to be balanced, you got to find a way to get into the end zone. To give you a little bit of reference here, too, the Giants had 4 rushing touchdowns in the first half. The Lions led the NFL with 20 of them. Okay? The Giants had just 9 passing touchdowns in the first half. They had just 1 in the first quarter, 9 in the first half. That's 25th in 2024. The Bucs led the NFL with 21 passing touchdowns in the first half. Giants got a lot of catching up to do. And I just think it's important that they stay balanced. And if they can stay balanced, then they'll be in this game. If the Giants can stay balanced throughout the entire season, they'll be in every game. And honestly, with the upgrades that they've made, especially on the defensive side of the ball, not so much on the offense, but we do have a new quarterback, taking snaps under center, which that should help. That should elevate. I don't know how much a lot of New York Giants fans think that that's, everything was to blame. Let me tell you something that's really crazy, Beard. When I was sitting up here every week in, week out, Daniel Jones ain't the guy. 40 straight games, can't even put together back-to-back performances with 2 passing touchdowns. When I was up here saying that, these fans was telling me, oh, you're being too harsh on the kid, man. You give him time. He's coming off a knee injury and excuse after excuse after excuse after fucking excuse, right? But now that he's gone, I see that these same fans think that, oh, man, you don't think that the wide receiver room is ready to go right now? Man, bringing in Russell Wilson and getting rid of that guy Daniel Jones is going to fix all of it. You watch and see. Our wide receiver room is going to elevate. You look at the 6 guys that made the roster for the New York Giants. They don't scare nobody from a wide receiver room outside of Malik Neighbors. You got Darius Slayton, you got Wan'Dale Robinson, you got Jalen Hyatt, you got Bo Collins, former Notre Dame wide receiver who made this roster, and the last spot went to Gunnar Olszewski. That's not really scaring nobody. For the sake of the New York Giants, I hope that y'all are right. The people that were the homers for Daniel Jones and thought I was too harsh on him, now that they think that, bringing in Russell Wilson is going to elevate this wide receiver room, I hope that they're right. But unfortunately, I think it will elevate the room. But how much will it elevate the room is going to be the big question at hand here. But with all that said, before we get to the roadmap, any other details you might want to talk about? I know we were talking about the tight end position earlier. Any other matchups that are intriguing to you as far as this game here, week 1 matchup between the Commanders and the Giants?
Well, I do think the tight end position is going to be interesting for you guys. I feel like, you talked about elevating the wide receiver room. And I think in today's NFL, we kind of have to merge that tight end a little bit with the wide receiver room, right? And, tight end position, when you think about some of the better teams for the New York Giants in history, they've always had a pretty damn good tight end to go along with things, right? But it's been tough there. So last year you had, I think it was 4 touchdown receptions by tight ends on the New York Giants roster, separated by 3
total?
different tight ends. So 3 different tight ends caught a grand total of 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
For the New York Giants. That's got to change. And, a lot of that is we're not expecting, Tyler Warren for the Colts sort of stuff. We're not expecting George Kittles and Trey McBrides. I'm not expecting that.
Yeah.
But a lot of that, and I bring up the touchdown passes because the red zone is always a key component here when it comes to, especially in division matchups, right? Like who's gonna win in the trenches is always a big thing, and the red zones, right? Tight ends, you should be able to score touchdowns with your tight end in the red zone. So is Theo Johnson going to? Because last year I think that was somebody who a lot of people thought was gonna take that step, right? He was gonna have that breakthrough season. He was a guy a lot of people talked about. Is this going to be the year, or are we going to see another committee but tight end sort of situation for New York? So I am watching the tight end position there.
Some of that has to do with Brian Dable.
Oh,
We've
of
done
course.
deep dives on the
And
red zone
quarterback.
targets to the tight end position. It's more Brian Dable than it is anything. Theo Johnson last year for the New York Giants. Take a guess at how many red zone attempts he had.
Or being thrown at targets.
Yep.
I'm going to go with he caught one touchdown pass. So I'm going to go with 6 targets.
His touchdown came from outside of the red zone on a seam route down the right hash. He had 1 red zone target all year, and it came early in the season against the Cleveland Browns. The Giants had just 3 red zone targets to the tight end position
That's
the
crazy.
entire fucking season.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so-
There's
so
people,
to me,
teams who
more of
have
that is
3 in a
Brian Dable.
series.
Yeah, right. And Dable's a guy that if you look back, we did deep dives on this on the Giant Overreaction. If you look back at his time in the last 3 years in Buffalo, he had 45 red zone targets to the tight end position during his last 3 seasons there that resulted in 17 touchdowns. We have not got back to targeting the tight end in the red zone. We have not done that well since Daniel Bellinger's rookie year in 2022, which Mike Kafka was calling the plays in 2022, which we're hoping with Mike Kafka calling the plays in 2025 that we see some of those results from the tight end position in the red zone.
I think another thing that was interesting to me is obviously, the cliche topic here is always, early on in the offseason and into this game is the defensive line for the New York Giants. But I think that it does have a little bit of play in this game because Washington is pretty much looking at a completely different, offensive line structure.
Yeah.
Obviously we brought in, Laramie Tunsil to play left tackle. Coleman's moving over to his natural position, which is guard. He was playing
Which
left
he
tackle.
hasn't played that since back in college, right? Did he
Yeah, so
play in the guard in NFL?
He was no. So last year was his rookie year, and he was the left tackle.
Yep.
So in college, he was a guard, but
Yep.
now he gets to move to his natural position at guard, which I think solidifies that left side of the line, fairly nice because Coleman held his own for the most part as a rookie, starting at left tackle, coming into the league as a guard.
A decisive quarterback is an offensive lineman's best friend.
God, football is back. It's back, ladies and gentlemen. Put it on a T-shirt. But no, I think that's what is going to be very interesting. And then obviously you have Connerly on the right tackle position. Biotis is still playing center. And then Sam Cosmi is going to start the year on IR. So we're going to have Allegretti playing right guard. So it's going to be interesting to see how that offensive line holds up. Not necessarily just against a we were at 4 first rounders on the
We've been
the
talking
Washington
about that.
Giants
we
defensive line.
We switch-swapped here a little bit. New York Giants got 4 first rounders up there.
Yeah.
The Commanders had that for a while when they had Chase Young, Montez Sweat up there.
So I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. And then obviously, Malik Neighbors and the secondary of Washington, I think, is a lot's going to rely on Marshawn Lattimore. Trey Amos is going to be a guy that in week 1, we're going to see how good he really is because
People forgetting about him.
he's
People
a
are
guy.
forgetting about him.
He's a guy. I'll tell you that right now. You want to throw out a wild card bet? Trey Amos to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Ooh. You know what I want to look into, and I'll bring these numbers here to the next show. The last cornerback that
win
actually
Defensive Rookie of the
won,
Year.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. I feel like it's just so much easier to win it as a pass rusher. If you can stack up
1000%.
pressures and sacks, you can get there. But that's a hot take. I like that. And I think a lot of people in our division have overlooked Trey Amos, and just kind of forgot that the Commanders actually brought him in. And you pair that with Mike Sanree still and
On the
Marshawn
inside,
Lattimore, you guys got a
Lattimore,
pretty
yeah.
good future unit there, man. That's pretty good.
And Quan Martin, who I really like, and I thought for me, I love to see progress made, progression of a player from when he's a rookie, because it's so easy to see a guy come in as a rookie and be like, oh, hit the ground running, right?
Yeah.
And people love to see that. And obviously you love to see that. But more times than not, guys are going to have a little bit of a time to adjust to the speed of the game, and all the other little things that come in from the difference between college football and the NFL.
Yeah.
But what you want to watch for is, does that guy get better? Is he progressing? Is he learning from his mistakes? And I feel like Quan Martin is in for a really big year this year in the secondary for the Washington Commanders.
That's what's up. So speaking of that matchup going up against your secondary, there are a couple of things here I wanted to break down with Russell Wilson taking over as the quarterback for the New York Giants here. And I wanted to show you guys a 17-game sample of his last 17 starts for Russell Wilson here. 3,746 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 picks. 265 rushing yards kind of shows that Russell Wilson is still mobile as well. 5 rushing touchdowns in his last 17 games. You remember the 7 rushing touchdowns from Daniel Jones in 2022. People could not let us forget about that one. 5 from Russ is not too bad. And a quarterback rating over 90. I think that if Russell Wilson can play at this level, this is going to make the New York Giants a more threatening team. How much more threatening, I'm not too sure, but this is a 10-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion. Russell Wilson coming in with the leadership, the reliability, the experience, and he's a guy that has done that pretty much year in and year out. Last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he did miss the first 6 games, and he only started 11 games in 2024. That's the fewest starts of Russell Wilson's career. He started at least 14 games in every other season. But again, the Giants need points. And Russell Wilson has got to find a way to put that ball in the end zone. And also, equally as important, threaten down the field, which is something that we know we can do, right, is be able to take the top off of some of these secondaries and push these explosive plays down the field, something that Malik Neighbors, definitely lacked in his rookie campaign. Now, Russell Wilson has thrown under 25 touchdowns just 4 times in his career. But he's thrown for more than 25 touchdowns just 1 time in the last 3 seasons. So this inevitable cliff that quarterbacks fall off of as they age and have to deal with father time, the big question here with the New York Giants at the quarterback position with Russell Wilson is it happening right before our eyes right now? I'm not 100% sure, but what I want to see out of Russell Wilson, I want to see the 2020 version of Russell Wilson reappear here, and just make his way back. You remember when Mace came back from his hiatus? I think he was like in jail or something. It was like, welcome back, welcome back. Like, I need that version of Russell Wilson, okay? In 2020, Russell Wilson put up 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns. The Beard was talking about this pre-show, and just 13 interceptions. I think he has an opportunity here with the New York Giants to play with arguably the best wide receiver 1 that he's played with in his entire career in Malik Neighbors. If he can turn guys like Darius Slayton, guys like Wan'Dale Robinson into a secondary option that could be, something along the lines of a Tyler Lockett, what he was in Seattle, right? I think that this offense can be that much more potent. Now, Russell Wilson, opening day, super important here. 500 record on opening day. 6-6. He's going up against the Washington Commanders. He has an equal 500 record against the Washington Commanders as well at 3-3. So this is a major tiebreaker for Russell Wilson going into week 1, okay? The leash is like, I thought the leash was going to be one of them leashes where when you go walk the dog at the park, it's the black rope that go into the red box, and, you can let him go out there and then you clamp down and it'll stop him, right? That leash right now is looking like about a good 10 links, and I'll say about a good 3 links per game. The leash is short because Jackson Dart just went out here in the preseason and just lit it the fuck up. Yeah. 3 passing touchdowns, 372 yards. The completion percentage was high. He showed his capability as a dual-threat quarterback, had the 1 rushing touchdown as well. And Jackson Dart is a guy that has already proven that the bright lights, unlike a quarterback we had here for 6 years in the past,
night and
do not
day,
scare
baby.
this kid. It's night and day. And I like the pun on night and day because, like, the bright lights, right? This is a kid that went out as a true freshman in his debut versus USC, and the quarterback ends up getting carted off the field or whatever the fuck happened, and Jackson Dart comes in, puts up 4 touchdowns in a USC victory, 42-14. This is the last thing I'm going to say before we get off into the roadmap, and we'll talk about my keys to victory here. Pat Leonard said this on a recent podcast. He said, Jackson Dart is more of a quarterback 1B on this roster than he is a quarterback 2 based on his usage. That's something I think we need to monitor. If the development plan for Jackson Dart was slow, steady, as a lot of people envision it being, I don't think that Brian Dable in this front office would have labeled Jackson Dart as the quarterback 2 going into this week 1 matchup against the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, and just to, one little point here as far as to kind of bring everything together, what we've been talking about so far. One of the biggest things that Giants fans, I almost said we, you guys almost got me. One thing that Giants fans have been like clamoring for is where are the downfield shots? We don't never throw the ball down the field, right? And like, I think that is something that they really made a point of emphasis on in the preseason to work on, and not just work on with one quarterback, but all of the quarterbacks. So just a couple of quick numbers here from, the New York Giants offense in the preseason as far as down the field passes go. Okay. So down the field passes, includes all the quarterbacks for the New York Giants. They had a 97.2 passing grade of 20-plus yards throws in the preseason, which was tied for first in the preseason in the NFL.
Ooh,
They attempted 19 deep passes in the preseason, which was tied for third most in the NFL in the preseason. And they connected on 9 of them, which was first in the preseason in the NFL. So they definitely made it a point of emphasis to try and attack the ball downfield. And if you want to be able to do that, we're going to bring it all the way back to the beginning. You're going to have to be able to run the ball, because if you can't run the ball, those corners are going to have their field day sitting back a little bit, and they're not going to have to press up as much. So that's going to be key if you want to be able to, capitalize on what you practice on in the preseason and attack downfield. Run the ball. So that's just a little nugget from the preseason for the New York Giants when they say preseason don't matter.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that saying. Like, how the fuck are we making this roster here if the preseason doesn't matter? People are very choosy with that. Because when somebody ball out, they're like, look at my quarterback, Jackson Dart, out here doing his thing, man, preseason, right?
If it fits their narrative, then, it's all different ball game.
Yeah, you got a player out there fucking up, and it's like, guys, it's just preseason. Don't worry about it. They'll be out there. It'll be fine once we get there. Nope. You ready for this first roadmap of 2025?
Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, let's get right into it, man. I'm looking forward to this one right here.
Yeah, you get on the freeway. What? No, turn right. Get out of the lane. No. Okay, get in position. Just get out the lane.
There's my beat. Ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Waze, the unofficial official sponsor of the Roadmap. Waze will get you to victory if you plug in these coordinates. Up first, ladies and gentlemen, most important thing, you gotta protect Jaden Daniels, okay? Because, let's be honest, your franchise, your life, your record, your season, everything in the world depends on Jaden Daniels, okay? We put in a lot of emphasis in this offseason in the new offensive line structure. So, I want to see this game, Jaden Daniels walk away being sacked no more than 2 times in this game, okay? 2 sacks or less. Third down percentage is huge with the success of the Washington Commanders and scoring as many points as they have. And if you want to keep that defense off the field, you're going to have to convert on third down. 70% or better third down conversion rate from the Washington Commanders offense.
Dang.
Okay, we're going a little gangster week 1, okay? And it wouldn't be a roadmap if there was no RTDB, ladies and gentlemen. Who knows what we're going to get from who? We have no idea. I don't care. As long as a combined unit of 17 running backs gives me at least 150 rushing yards, I will be a happy man. So 150 on the ground from the Washington Commanders. Here's a big one. The next 2 are big ones, okay? These are defense, because defense was our weak link in Washington. First up, you got to force 2 turnovers in this game. 2 turnovers forced by the Washington Commanders defense and or special teams. We'll throw in a little DST out there. Okay. And last but certainly not least, because I will tell you, I watched it personally, Malik Neighbors fry Washington. And I mean fry. Dump the whole bucket in the oil. We're going to hold Malik Neighbors under 80 yards in this game.
I like that. I like that. 80 yards. I think we could still win if Malik was, hovering just under that 80. If he was around 68, 70.
79.
I like it. All right. I like it. So we got third down over 70.
70% or better.
And then the forced two turnovers. I mean, you're asking for a lot, man. I mean, if all that stuff goes right, y'all going to dog walk the New York Giants.
Hey, listen, I had to come. I had to show up. You know what I'm saying? This is the first road trip of the season, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, that's big facts right there. Hopefully, we get a flat tire on the road to, back down to the DMV. For me, it's pretty simple. Just kind of reiterating some points here. Explosive plays is going to be something that the Giants absolutely got to capitalize on. I prefer that we get a couple of shots down the field and be able to create explosive plays down the field, especially with guys like Malik Neighbors. But if it has to be done on a bubble screen or on a quick slant or however it has to be done, just create those plays, those rushing plays over 10 yards and those passing plays over 20 yards. You talked about the two turnovers. Giants got to take care of the ball here, man. The last time we played you guys at Northwest Field, the big difference in the game outside of the Malik Neighbors drop towards the end of the game was the Devin Singletary fumble to open up the second half, which really, we were marching down the field and getting to the point where we were going to push it to a 2-score lead. And you guys struggled in a major way in the red zone that game. 6 attempts, came away with 0 touchdowns. So taking care of the ball is going to be super important. Now, I kind of want to see a little bit of a repeat performance. If the Giants got to, allow the Commanders to kind of march down the field, at least when we get into that red zone, give me a little bit of bend, don't break, and stop the Commanders. I'm not expecting, 6 for 6 on the New York Giants stops in the red zone, but give me about half of that. At least limit them to a couple of field goals here. The balanced attack, again, is going to be super important. And just running the goddamn ball. That's super important. I want to see Brian Daboll go out here and establish that early. And on the flip side, stop the run. I think the most intriguing thing for me in this game is viewing Russell Wilson. And we will have the compilation of Russell Wilson, all of his throws in this game at the conclusion of the game on Sunday. But I'm looking for improved quarterback play. I think, the quarterback position is the one position that, look, man, if you got a guy at that position, it can change the complete trajectory of your team and their goal and their angle towards victory. So I want to see Russell Wilson go out here and keep Jackson Dart on the bench. I think that's going to yield New York Giants victories, and that's important for us. And lastly, you just got to score points, man. 16 points. If the Giants do not score, we went through the preseason and we scored over 30 points in all 3 of those games. If we don't take that momentum here into the regular season and we finish this game under 20 points, I'm going to feel let down by this Brian Daboll offense. And this is an important season. I know Brian Daboll is not on the hot seat anymore, but, I think that seat could quickly heaten up, if he doesn't go out here and score points, because the not even the narrative, the truth to the situation here is that the Giants defense has been playing better than the Giants offense has basically throughout the whole entire Brian Daboll tenure. I want to see that flip this year. Let's get this offense in the top half of the league, score some points here, get us over 20 points per game, especially in this week 1 matchup. Give me 24 points. I think if the Giants score 24 points, we'll have a shot in this game if our defense plays, to their capabilities. But I also think that those injuries are something to keep an eye on. Dorrance Armstrong for the Washington Commanders was limited in practice on Wednesday. Gunner says that Zach Ertz never practices on a Wednesday. I hope that's not necessarily the case, and Zach Ertz comes out here on Sunday and is feeling a little, my back, doctor said I got to,
feeling a little beard-like.
Yeah, a little creaky, He's getting a little older up there in age as well. But we shall see. There's no way that I'm going to go through a week 1 preview, an hour long at that, and not pick my New York Giants to win this fucking game. There's no way. I'm not coming out here week 1 and being like, yeah, man,
those
Giants,
Daniel Jones days are over, New York Giants fans.
Even when Daniel Jones was here, week 1, I'm picking us to fucking win. I don't care what's going on. So I'm taking the New York Giants in a close game here. I think the Giants can win this one 27-24. Wouldn't surprise me either way, but this will be a great way for the Giants to get off to a good start here in the NFC East with a victory and not only be 1-0 sitting atop the division, but having that opportunity to go into Dallas next week and go up 2-0 in the division. I'm just looking forward to having that chance and that opportunity. But it starts week 1 against Washington. Again, I'm going to go 27-24 in favor of my New York football motherfucking Giants one time.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of interesting things going on here with these scores, because you said if you score at least 24 points, I got you guys a notch under there. Now, I will tell you this. I would not be surprised if Washington lost this game. I'm being dead honest with you. I would not be surprised, right? I think this is a better Giants team. This is a division game. It's week 1. If this game was in New York, I might even be even more concerned, right?
Yeah.
Now, all that being said, there's no way I'm going to do an entire week 1 preview, an hour long, and not pick my Washington motherfucking Commanders.
Yeah, I got you one of those. I feel you, bro. I feel you.
Listen, I think this game is close to. I think the New York Giants cover the spread. I'm going to go Washington Commanders 27, New York Giants 23.
Scores are damn close, man. Watch y'all go out here and just fuck it, dog.
Do you want to know something crazy? Have you ever heard of a week 1 matchup that's you could literally sit here and say this is a must-win game for either one of these teams? If Washington, with the expectations that they have, go at home and lose to the New York Giants, who won 3 games last year, that's hurt. That hurts.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that would
Now
change the view from the fan base as far as what they expect for the season. That's for,
and
for
then
both
New
teams.
York Giants, who have one of the toughest 5-game stretch to start a season of anybody in the National Football League. If you go out and win this game, you're already got 1 foot above what most people think you're going to have win-wise for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And you said it, going into Dallas for week 2, like who knows what Dallas is going to be. So this is an interesting must-win game for these two teams in week 1.
Who do y'all got week 2?
Do I want to say Green Bay Packers?
So y'all, if it is Green Bay, y'all got a pretty difficult start as well. We
No,
got
I
a
think
couple
Packers
of super chats.
is yeah. Bring up the super chat and I'll tell you really fast who we're playing.
And I'll take care of them while you do that. Shout out my dog, B-Rog, in the building one time, man, with the $20 super chat. He's leading the way here, y'all, as far as supporting Authentic and the Beard here. Shout out my dog one time. Appreciate you supporting the channel. You know that goes a long way. He said, just glad to be back.
So I
I'm
thought
right
that
there
was
with you,
Ron
man.
Burgundy. It looks like Ron Burgundy / Nick Wright, but
It looks like Kirk Benkert to me a little bit. But I think that's just B-Rog right there. That might
shout
just
out
be
B-Rog.
Yeah, man. Big shout out to the dog one time, man. What else we got? I know we got a couple of more here as well. We got to get to. Well,
There
this is
better
one-
be some
one of your good
99s
friends
in here. Oh, hey! Big shout out to my wife, the amazing Josephine Christian. That is my wife. Big shout out to Josie, holding it downstairs, literally, with our ginormous baby son. He's huge. He's
a big
he
guy.
is huge bruiser. Thank you for the $19.99 super chat. We appreciate the love.
I'll make sure that $19.99 goes to good use, Josie. We appreciate you.
Big shout out to Am I Right Dollar Wild with a $9.99 super chat.
Yeah,
Says what up.
You butchered that. You butchered that.
Did I?
You butchered that.
And it's not Am I Right. Oh, Emirate Dollywall with a
little better.
$9.99 super chat. I think Am I Right Dollywall sounds cool
I was
though.
going to go with Amrit. I could be wrong, but I was going to go with Amrit.
Emirate Dollywall with the $9.99
AD
super
in
chat.
the building.
What up, fellas? Let's go Giants.
Yes, sir. I like the lackluster way you read that. Let's go, Giants.
I gotta read those all the time, guys. I'd appreciate some Commanders fans to send some super chats that end with "Let's go Commanders." Big shout out to our guy, your guy, everybody's guy, Mr. Chris Peace with a $9.99 super chat. Says, "Good afternoon, gents. Getting the truck ready for a nice long tailgate." And a Giants win. Good seeing the Beard back on the screen. It's good seeing you back on the screen right down here. Look at that guy. We love Chris Peace.
He said, "Look at that guy." Yeah, I think that's the last one. Yep, that is the last one. Yeah, man. Big shout out to Chris Peace. We should see you tomorrow, bro. I'm trying to come out there, get a couple of interviews, get a little bit of content behind the scenes, and then I'm gonna shoot right back here to the crib, to the studio. I want to do a Bleach Report recap right after the game. You know, I'm just working, man. I'm just trying to stay busy. You know, do I want to go to the game and spend a shit ton of money, or do I want to stay at home, watch the game in the comfort of my own home, and make some money? I think I'm going to go with the latter there. But big shout out to my dog, Chris Peace, one time in the building. And shout out to all of y'all, man, viewing here. It's definitely a booming stream today, man. Appreciate you guys pulling up and showing some support here with the Beard for his first stream of the season here. 2025 is on its way. We got one more game that we want to break down here. I'm looking forward to talking about this one too with the Philadelphia Eagles, especially coming off of that Super Bowl victory. It's definitely going to be an intriguing matchup that the Dallas Cowboys are looking to go out there and steal a victory, quite frankly. Like, if the Dallas Cowboys can come out here and win to open up the season in front of the entire country on NBC, that would go a long way for a season for Dak Prescott that he's really trying to bounce back and get right again, right? I know the Beard don't believe in Dak Prescott or the Dallas Cowboys. He thinks the ship is falling apart. We shall see. We're going to talk about it here in this matchup with the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Philly to take on the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Super Bowl MVP, who was phenomenal in throttling Kansas City.
No matter the situation, no matter the circumstances, no matter the adversity, whatever the case may be, he figures it out.
But Jalen Hurts, let's remember, was outstanding in that game.
What was that? I've never seen that move, and I've been watching football all my life.
Personally, myself, I've just been able to use every experience and learn from it.
The Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas Cowboys finished third in the division at 7-10. Philadelphia Eagles won the division at 14-3, ended up ultimately winning 4 more games to win the big trophy to put into the case. Philadelphia Eagles have now been to 2 Super Bowls in the past 3 seasons. Kickoff is tonight, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBC. I got the Eagles favored by 8 points in this one, which I think is a little bit, maybe too much, considering that the Dallas Cowboys are getting their quarterback back in the saddle here one time. Last meeting, the Eagles beat the Cowboys 41-7 in Philly. That was on December 29th, 2024. The Eagles swept the Cowboys last year by a combined score of, get this, 81-13. That's
Shout out Monique.
Points. Shout out Monique. Now, that was with no Dak Prescott in both games. And in the last game of the season, the Philadelphia Eagles rested their starters and still blew the socks off the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, personally, is 9-4 all-time versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's won 4 of his last 5 games against the Eagles. This will be the 32nd primetime matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, which is the most ever of any 2 teams. Now, Dallas has done a lot of revamping. They brought in a new coaching staff that will be led by Brian Schottenheimer. Shout out to Marty one time.
Rest in peace, GOAT.
And he took over for Mike McCarthy, who was the head coach last season. Don't forget that Brian Schottenheimer was serving as the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator in 2024. They're also bringing in former Chicago Bears head coach Matt Eberflus, who will be replacing Mike Zimmer as the defensive coordinator. Me and the Beard kind of briefly talked about this, I want to say like a week or 2 ago. And that was probably our biggest worry, was bringing in Matt Eberflus. You go from Dan Quinn to Mike Zimmer to Matt Eberflus. You talk about taking steps down every single season.
There.
It's terrible here. Now, I just want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles offense real quick before I kick it over to you. We won't spend as much time on this one here, but, you know, when I look at the Philadelphia Eagles offense, it operates like a very well-oiled machine, like a, you know, think German engineering here. And I think that Jalen Hurts is the driver of the Eagles offense. Jalen Hurts is now going to be entering this season with his 5th play caller in 5 years.
What a G.
What
Shout out
a G
Jalen
is
Hurts.
right? I
No
I
excuses
Giants
for that
fans
guy.
Are biased, right? And we don't like Jalen Hurts.
Oh, he's
in New
got
York.
5. He's had 5 different offensive coordinators in his first 5
with Daniel
years.
Jones, right?
Yeah.
Here's the crazy part, Beard. With Daniel Jones, he was getting these guys fired. With Jalen Hurts, he was getting these guys hired.
New jobs.
It's
hey,
crazy.
you want to be a head coach? Come be my offensive coordinator. I'll get
Sound
you
like
where you need
sound
to
like
go.
Suge Knight, right? Come to death row. Now, Jalen Hurts had just 5 interceptions last season, 4 straight seasons of double-digit rushing touchdowns. He had 14 rushing touchdowns in 2024. And I know some people are going to look at the passing statistics where he didn't even breach 3,000 yards last season, but Jalen Hurts is the driver of the well-oiled, German-engineered vehicle. Saquon Barkley is the engine of that Eagles offense. 2,500 yards, above 2,500 yards last season when you combine the playoffs. He rushed for 2K in the regular season and even rested in Week 18. I saw people talking about the most impressive 2K seasons by a running back, and a lot of people did not pick Saquon Barkley, but they are forgetting that Saquon didn't play Week 18. Now, when you look at O.J. Simpson, he only played like 14 games.
Yeah,
and did that.
that was a different. That was the football we want.
Yeah, definitely a different breed. You know, OJ was a killer on the football field. All right. Now, Saquon Barkley led the NFL in scrimmage yards, 2,283 scrimmage yards in the regular season. So he is the engine. Jalen Hurts is the driver. A.J. Brown is the gas, man. Like A.J. Brown, when he is on the field for the Philadelphia Eagles, they get to where they need to be going. He missed 4 games last season. With A.J. Brown in the lineup, the Philadelphia Eagles averaged 31.9 points per game. Without A.J. Brown in the lineup, they averaged 18 points per game. So stark differences here. A.J. Brown had a touchdown in each of his final 3 regular season games in 2024. I expect him to carry that momentum into this regular season matchup against the Dallas Cowboys today. And another nugget on A.J. Brown, he's the 5th player ever with 1,000 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns in 5 of his first 6 seasons. That dude's a dog. When you talk about, a lot of people like to say that once you get the franchise quarterback, like you guys did this past season with Jaden Daniels, like the New York Giants did this draft with Jackson Dart, that you go out there and you acquire the wide receiver via free agency, that you won't need the wide receiver one per se once you get the quarterback in the building. You can operate for a year without that guy. A.J. Brown is proof that that is possible, but there aren't many examples like this. And as a New York Giants fan, it makes me think about Kenny Galladay, right? Like you go out there and you try to acquire that wide receiver one via free agency, and it doesn't necessarily pan out. And now you're looking at it as maybe I brought in the wrong guy for my quarterback, and it'll make you very reluctant to put that blame on your quarterback. So when I think about adding that wide receiver one into A.J. Brown, that is the outlier situation. That is not the normal situation there. For the Cowboys, for me, it's simple, man. And me and the Beard like to talk about this all the time, man. Run that damn ball. The Cowboys were one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL last season. They really didn't get things together until, I'd say, probably the back third of the season. And I got to give props to Rico Dowdle because as lackluster as that running game was, he still managed to put up 1,000 yards on the season. He's no longer with the Dallas Cowboys now. He's with the Carolina Panthers, I believe it is. But when you look at the Cowboys running backs, a lot to be desired there. You got Miles Sanders, right? A guy, I'm gonna break it down. You give me the rebuttal because after this rushing statement here, I want to see how you feeling about it. Okay. You got Miles Sanders, 205 yards, got the payday from the Carolina Panthers, didn't do shit. 3.7 yards per carry in 2024, just 205 yards. Didn't have a lot of opportunity either. Javonte Williams, coming over from the Denver Broncos, 513 yards last season, 3.7 yards per carry. Doesn't scare me. Jaden Blue out of Texas. I like Jaden Blue. He was one of my speedster running backs to pair along with guys like Bashal Tutin, Brashard Smith. I liked all those running backs for the New York Giants. I thought that they could pair well as a third down asset for the Giants, and pairing them with a guy like Tyrone Tracy. Giants end up going with Cam Scatterbu. More power to us, bringing in a power running back. But Jaden Blue had 730 yards and very little opportunity at Texas, but he did average 5.4 yards per carry. But that is on the collegiate level. Yeah. It's not on the NFL level. The Dallas Cowboys' returning leading rusher is Kevontae Turpin. He had 92 yards last year. So not only are we talking about guys who have not had a lot of productivity, right? We're talking about a bunch of guys that aren't familiar with the surroundings of being around the Dallas Cowboys running back room that struggled last year. Tried to bring back Ezekiel Elliott. That was a failed, miserable attempt at bringing him back to his days of glory. Didn't work out. Now, you take all them three, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll say 4 running backs. Kevontae Turpin's a running back that returns punts. They all combined for 1,540 yards. That's still 465 yards less than Saquon Barkley's performance in 2024. So, I got Javonte Williams on a couple of fantasy teams. I'm hoping that he can get back to his true form. Pre-knee injury, Javonte Williams was a dog. He was definitely a dog. And he does have 3,360 scrimmage yards and 16 total touchdowns in 54 career games. But I'm still, this is very similar to what I said about the New York Giants, about the Kool-Aid. I need the hot water boiled. Then we're going to dump in the Kool-Aid pack and a little bit of sugar, let it dissolve right. Then we'll mix it with the cold water, put the ice on it, stir, get it all proper and get it
Big
all right.
wooden spoon.
Nice wooden spoon, maybe a metal spoon. I'm thinking like the spoon from the Matrix. Like the bendy spoon, like a spoon like that, right, with a tall, long handle, right. But I can't sit up here and say that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be an effective team running the ball with what I'm looking at here. Is there anything that you can add to the situation that would maybe make me say, okay, maybe make me feel a little bit more confident in their rushing attack?
No, probably not. I think I do want to say that there is this mysterious aura going around the Dallas Cowboys right now because we don't know what to expect from this coaching staff. I think that's the big question mark in Dallas for me, because you guys know, and I'm obviously a Dallas Cowboy non-believer because we're not using the word hater anymore. Okay.
Unless you are a hater. If you
well,
are
no, I'm not a hater. I'm a non-believer. Okay, and a lot of this
that's subjective.
Is the trajectory of the franchise and the moves that they have been making over the past few years has led them to here. Okay, when they were in the contract dispute with Zeke Elliott, I told everybody this is a horrible idea. Do not pay Zeke Elliott that money.
Yeah.
They paid Zeke Elliott that money. He gave him 1,000 yards, and that was it for the rest of his career there, okay? Then they ended up having to get rid of Amari Cooper, who, by the way, just retired a week after being traded to the
Did he
Las
retire
Vegas
after going
Raiders.
to the Raiders? I saw somebody draft him in the league last night.
Yeah, he just retired just now. Breaking
Damn.
news here on
I
Authentic and the
don't
Beard.
like when players do that, bro. Don't sign with a team and then retire. What is that?
So then they had to let him walk, and then they gave Dak a ridiculous contract, which some may say was understandable and they should have done, but then they put them in a predicament where now they weren't going to be able to pay Michael Parsons, who is their best player. Some may argue that CeeDee Lamb was their best player, right?
Let me tell you real quickly where they fucked up. They need to look at Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles and the way that they are structuring contracts. When you are making a Super Bowl run, it will serve you much better to add void years to these. Saquon Barkley is on the Eagles' payroll till like 2032. Same thing for
Back
Jalen
end.
Hurts. Same thing for Devonta Smith. Same thing for A.J. Brown. So I just don't understand why they decided to structure those contracts the way that they did, because I thought you broke down.
They don't
the
have
Dak
a real
Prescott
general
contract.
manager. That's why.
I guess, but most teams don't structure contracts the way that the Philadelphia Eagles do, right? More teams are doing it the way that we do it, the way that y'all do it, where it's like more balanced out, right? But in this particular situation, I thought you broke it down really well by talking about Dak Prescott's contract. Like Zeke Elliott, now in hindsight, we can all say, bad idea. Paying a running back that big of a contract, we'll probably never see that shit again, right? But with Dak Prescott, he is the leader. He is the engine of that offense, right? So you kind of had to pay him.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand how just that simple contract is crippling them and having them towards the bottom of the league as far as the salary cap dollars. But I thought that is a really great point. But they got to find a way to structure these contracts better to create these void years. And I think the window's already gone. The opportunity's gone, because the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl window, you looking through the fucking peephole now.
Yeah,
Right?
1,000%.
If the Cowboys get to the playoffs and they win a wild card game and then win a divisional and even make it to an NFC championship game, which they haven't done in 30 years, it would surprise the hell out of me.
This
But
is make or break for Dak Prescott. This is, in my opinion, this is the best wide receiving core that Dak Prescott's ever had as a quarterback in the NFL.
Equal to it, yeah, because prime Amari Cooper with CeeDee Lamb was something very serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rookie year for him.
And then they had
for
Michael
CeeDee
Gallup
Lamb.
as depth at one point as well. So, I do agree with you on that. Like, George Pickens could be one of those guys for them.
Yeah, and now you're looking at CeeDee Lamb at, I hate to say peak or prime. I don't like to use those words for a guy who's, 3-4 years into the league. But he is now no longer a young rookie wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Veteran,
he's
absolutely.
if you're gonna
Prime
put
is a
him at
good
the
way to put it.
Yeah, if you're going to put him at the top of the league as far as wide receivers go, then, you expect that sort of production from him.
Mm-hmm.
So they have that offense, and obviously the big problem with Dallas was they not only could they not run the ball, they just didn't run the ball. And that was always their problem. They were a very predictable offense, and that doesn't really benefit a quarterback like Dak Prescott, in my opinion. So I think that are their running backs flashy? Or do they have the equivalent of Saquon Barkley if they put all these running back transformers together? Absolutely not. But I think that they have the pieces there offensively, depending on how the coaching staff uses them. Once again, this is a brand new coaching staff. We don't know how they're going to use these players.
But the same coordinator. Don't forget that part of it, right? It is the same coordinator. So you can expect the offense to move similarly
to
the way that it. But Dak Prescott missed, 2/3 of the season as well underneath Brian Schottenheimer's first season as the OC.
Yeah, so I think I like a good cordon bleu sandwich. So, he could be a guy that you could. And Miles Sanders is a guy who can catch the ball at the backfield. I don't expect him to get 10, 12 carries a game. Yeah. Javonte Williams, I feel like, never got a fair shake in Denver. As soon as that Denver offense started to turn the page and that offensive line became as good as it is, he had already fallen out of favor with that coaching staff. Yeah. So he never really got that opportunity to be a cowbell. I still think the Dallas Cowboys have a pretty damn good offensive line. It's not the offensive line of years past, but I think that
there are some injuries up front too. Tyler Guyton, I believe, was dealing with an injury, and one more player up front dealing with an injury. But you're right about that. Their offensive line is definitely very serviceable right now. Cooper Beebe, another guy that has contributed over last season, playing a little bit of center and can play a little bit of guard. A guy I had my eyes on coming out of Kansas State as well. But yeah, I do agree with you. The offensive line should be should suffice.
And then obviously you're looking at this game though. It's going to be a tough measuring stick game on the side for the Cowboys. I mean, if you can run the rock against this defense, then we might have a different conversation about the Dallas Cowboys running backs moving forward. But I mean, you're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I think they were the 10th best rush defense in the league last year, only allowing 104 yards and some change on the ground. And in passing defense, they were the number one passing defense in the league. 171.2 yards per game allowed last year.
Yeah.
And I got a guy for everybody to keep their eye out on because this Philadelphia Eagles team is so damn good. That roster is built so damn good on every angle of the ball. Okay? Defensively, I'm going to give you a name. Jahad Campbell out of Alabama for the Philadelphia Eagles. This guy is
straight dog.
Really, really, really good. And you're throwing him in the mix with all those other guys already, and it's just going to be it's not fair. Okay?
I was surprised to see him fall all the way to what, 31st? Yeah, I was surprised to see that.
So, and then offensively, okay, what is the one thing Authentic in the Beard have said has been, if you had to pick an Achilles heel for the Philadelphia Eagles offensively, what has it been since the existence of Authentic in the Beard?
Slot wide receiver.
Yeah, or even if you want to broaden it, let's just say a third weapon, wide receiver 3, right? They traded for Jahan Dotson, and listen, I love Jahan Dotson as a guy. It didn't work out here in Washington. I thought he would work out in Philadelphia. He had some good moments, but he's not going to fit in as wide receiver 3 over there, I think, in my opinion. They go out and they trade for my guy, who I have been clamoring for people to give, John Mechie III.
Yeah.
Now, he comes from Houston. A lot of people were like, well, then why did Houston trade? Houston has a crowded wide receiver room. They drafted 2 guys, who are going to play. Both of them, I believe, are going to make a run at getting serious burn this year.
Yeah, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel out of Iowa State.
I think he needed a fresh start and new opportunity. I really believe that by the end of the year, he could become a guy for the Philadelphia Eagles and finally be that missing piece as far as weapons go on the offensive side of the ball for the Philadelphia Eagles. And if that pans out, I don't know what we're all going to do. We're just going to have to, play better football than that one way or another. But
stack them rosters.
it's kind of crazy. So I'm very curious to see how Dallas looks coming out. And obviously defensively, Dallas, who do they have? What does Dallas have defensively?
They did draft a kid out of Boston College in the second round, Donovan Ezeraku, led the nation in sacks last year. He's going to help contribute. They got back Kenny Clark from the trade, and the 2 additional first-round picks.
And
for
Fowler.
the Micah Parsons trade. You know, they also brought back Dante Fowler from the Washington Commanders, who had, 10 and a half sacks last
I
season?
think he led our team in sacks last year.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they have enough to maybe supplement what's going on defensively for them. They also had their second-round pick from 2024 who missed the entire season last year, the DB, Sam Williams, out of Ole Miss. He's another guy that can contribute. You know, you're just hoping, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, that all of these players will
Patch
be able
together.
to, you know, patch things up, you know, and help out for where Micah Parsons, you know, leaves a massive void for the Dallas Cowboys defensively.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern for Dallas is not knowing anything about how this coaching staff is going to change things moving over from McCarthy. You know, Dak is make or break year. The running back room is kind of patched together like the defense, if you want to be honest. And then the defensive side of the ball, where are they going to get the pressure on the quarterback? Are they going to be able to sustain that pressure from all these guys who are kind of like B team contributors, you know, with possibility of star, you know, potential? I think Fowler is a really good player. And then the back end, you know, they just gave Bland all that money. And Trayvon Diggs barely made the roster, it sounds like, from, you know, a lot of people.
I don't believe that.
But, you know, that's why I said it sounds like from a lot of people, obviously. But so there's a lot of questions there. Whereas Philadelphia, yes, they're coming off a Super Bowl win. But you said 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. They've built something here. They have the best roster offensively and defensively in the NFL. I don't think this game is close at all.
You don't think it'll be close at all?
I think it get maybe like back door close. I can give you my score if you'd like.
Not yet.
Okay.
A couple other things here. A reason why I think this game could be close. If you've noticed over the last 3 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, as we start the year, everyone is saying every week this team has still not played to their potential yet, still managing to win games. I truly think that this game could be closer than most people envision. There's 2 things that are just massive like opportunities for the Dallas Cowboys to get after the quarterback and stop the run here. Landon Dickerson, left guard, the injury that he had in the preseason where he had to have like some kind of a surgery. 1, is he going to go? 2, is he going to be 100% healthy if he does end up going? The backups that are there that are going to replace him is Brett Toth and Kenyon Green. Those will be his replacements. That would open up a massive lane for the Cowboys defensive front to be able to, 1, get after the quarterback, and 2, limit the Philadelphia Eagles and Saquon Barkley running right down the teeth of their defense. That's 1. The other thing, the right guard position, more stress on the interior offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't forget that the one changing part on that offensive line is Mekhi Becton at the right guard position. Tyler Steen is going to be taking over for him at the right guard position, which I'm not saying it's a major concern, but it's just something to keep your eyes on, right? When Cam Jurgens took over for Jason Kelce at the center position, I was super confident that I knew he was going to come in and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference that Jason Kelce was not on the field. With Tyler Steen taking over for Mekhi Becton, who from a stature perspective is just that dominant of a player, I think that's something to keep your eyes on with how the Philadelphia Eagles are going to plan to run the ball between the 2 guards on the interior portion of the line, right down the A-gaps. I think that's something to keep in mind. The other thing, the Dallas Cowboys have an opportunity, in my opinion, to function a lot like the 2024 Washington Commanders. Their offense has pretty much every box checked that your offense had checked last season, right? You came into the year, we didn't look at Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler as premier running backs, right? But we looked at them as good enough to be able to get the job done. Serviceable, right? And then you looked at the wide receiver weapons that y'all had, and if you compare that to what the Dallas Cowboys are doing this year with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, I think they have an opportunity to be a team that goes out there and scores like 28 points a game.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe their defense is not as good. Maybe their defense is middle of the pack or maybe closer to the bottom quarter or bottom third of the league. But if you have an offense that is churning and humming and scoring points like we know Dak Prescott can do, we've seen Dak Prescott do this in his previous 2 to 3 seasons when the Dallas Cowboys were on a run of 3 straight seasons of 12 victories, I think they can operate. CeeDee Lamb is one of the best wide receiver ones in the entire league. With Cooper Rush at quarterback last year, he still almost had 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, let me just break down a couple of nuggets here. He has at least 5 receptions in each of his last 13 road games. They're playing on the road tonight. He has 100 scrimmage yards in each of his 4 career road Thursday night games. So CeeDee Lamb knows about the bright lights. He knows how to play under those bright lights. He's also one of 2 players with 100 or more catches, 1,100 or more receiving yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns in each of his past 3 seasons. One of 2. Think about who the other player is.
Randy Moss?
Nope. Active players. Active players that have had at least 100 catches, 1,100 yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns in all of the last 3 seasons.
All the last 3 seasons. A.J. Brown?
Nope. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, and when you look at those 2 wide receivers and you compare them, right, to me, they are both like, the only other wide receiver that I really put in their kind of category is a prime Stephon Diggs. These guys are like utility knives.
Yeah.
They can do it all, right? They can stretch the field. They can get put in the slot. They can do intermediate, all of that, right? Exactly. CeeDee Lamb has that potential. And we all know when it comes to the quick slant, nobody runs it better than Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. So I think that adding George Pickens to the equation, a deep threat on the outside, right? Loves to stay out there on the hash. George Pickens is not going to come across the middle of the field. But you also got to keep a safety over the top on George Pickens. He's a big play hunter. I think that'll help Dak Prescott with the explosive plays. And George Pickens led the NFL as far as wide receivers who had at least a minimum of 150 receptions since he's came into the league. He leads the NFL in yards per catch at 16.3. I think that, at the end of the day, it don't matter how it looks. You have to have some kind of balance. And when I say balance in this regard, I don't mean like 50-50 pass to run. I just mean like if you're not going to be able to run the ball well, you need to make up for that when you're throwing the ball down the field. And I think they got the weapons to be able to do it.
I think, big shout out to Kai001 in the chat. This is another key component to them too. And I feel like we talked a lot about tight ends today. Shout out to, I was a member of Tight End University, for those of you that don't know.
I was a member of Tight End University. The first position I ever played in pads, when I played pads for the first time on Pee Wee, they're like, hey, we're going to put you at tight end. I was like, you sure? My brother, I'll never forget this shit. My brother was like, yo, dog, why you got on all them accessories and shit, bro? Like, I swear to God, I had like 4 wristbands, the elbow pads, the neck roll, like the Eric Dickerson neck roll that sat above the shoulder pads, the high socks. I had it all. My bro's like, man, you need to take all that shit off and just go play football. I'm like, bro, they got me playing tight end. Come on, bro. I'm like literally at that point, I'm in like 4th grade, maybe 60, 70 pounds. These dudes put me at tight end, and then the next year I'm playing quarterback. So I'm a part of tight end U as well too. I just had to throw that out there.
Big shout out to God001. He brought up Jake Ferguson. I think he's been a guy that it falls in that same category where like you see these flashes and you're like, this guy can be a top 10 tight end in the National Football League, right? Are they gonna find a way to utilize him? Do they utilize him instead if things aren't working out in the running game to kind of supplement the lack of running game? Use that tight end, and then open things up for CD across the middle, and then the downfield passes for George Pickens.
Do you remember last season the emphasis to try to get Ferguson the ball in the first 3 games, but he was dealing with a couple of drops and just not really having that chemistry early on, and then finally kind of got it together a little bit later in the season, but. I agree with you on that. There will be an emphasis to try to get him the ball if the running game is not working. And I also think that there'll be an emphasis to get the quick passing game going if the running game's not working and have that supplement for that.
See, this is why I kind of like prefaced my Dallas Cowboy, prediction in the beginning of the show, because they are the wild card of the teams here for me. Like I can look at the New York Giants and say, the New York Giants of 2025 are not the New York Giants of 2024. Will they necessarily be, a playoff team? Like that's I can't tell you that, right? But like you said, they're going to win more games than they did last year. I think that most logical people will say that. The Washington Commanders, when you have a unicorn like Jaden Daniels at the quarterback realm, like, albeit without injuries, they should be a playoff contending team, right? Will they win a division? Maybe, maybe not, right? But they'll contend. the Philadelphia Eagles are a Super Bowl. They just won a Super Bowl. They have the best running back in the National Football League. They have one of the best quarterbacks. They have one of the best wide receivers. They have an absolutely crazy defense, right? But when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, they are the wild card of the division. They could be a 11-win team. They could be a 7-win team. We just don't know yet. And I think they're going to fall somewhere in between those two numbers. And I do agree with you a little bit more now. I think sometimes you got to talk this stuff through, especially with a non-believer, right? Sometimes you got to talk with a non-believer to walk them through this, okay? But I'm going to stick with I think it's closer than I initially thought that it would not be. We'll say that.
Would not be. I like that. Let's get it.
All right. Philadelphia Eagles 31, Dallas Cowboys 20.
I don't think the Eagles, I'm glad I got to hear your score first. You always know I wing these scores. I kind of, I want to get convinced by you and, go over it all. 31 is a lot of points, right?
Yeah.
That would be the Philadelphia Eagles that we saw towards the end of the season last year in the playoffs, right? Like if they're clicking on all cylinders, that offense is humming the way it should be, they'll get to 31. I'm going to go a little bit less. There's a part of me that wants to take the Dallas Cowboys to surprise tonight. I just think Dak Prescott back. I don't know if you saw some of them workout videos over the offseason, man. He looks like he's in some of the best shape he's ever been in his entire life. But I just can't do it. This is a Kool-Aid type of thing. I want to wait just a little bit, to make sure the Kool-Aid's ready to go. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles in a bit of a more closer matchup. I think that the Dallas Cowboys it'll be a 2-score game late, and I think the Dallas Cowboys will score late, and then the Philadelphia Eagles will run the clock out. I'm going to go 27. I'm going to go a 6-point victory for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to go 27-21 in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles.
What was that number, the CeeDee Lamb Thursday primetime catches straight?
Let's see. So he's got 100 scrimmage yards in each of his 4 career road Thursday night matchups.
Okay.
And in his last 13 road games, he's got at least 5 receptions in every one of them.
Thinking about putting together a little Beard Best Bet parlay and putting it out on Twitter. If you guys aren't following us on Twitter, follow @Authentic and @TimWalkOnWater2. So maybe if you had to pick somebody to score an anytime touchdown in this game, Saquon or
anytime
Jalen
touchdown?
Hurts.
Shit, both of them.
So we're going to do Jalen Hurts.
Running? We're talking about rushing?
Running.
I mean, tush push, Saquon, like.
Okay, so maybe
both. I'm going both.
Both? Okay,
yeah, they both score in this game.
And then Eagles money line, so just to win, not to cover the spread, because I think the spread's like 8 points.
Yeah.
Eagles to win money line. CeeDee Lamb over 4.5 receptions.
Yep.
And I don't know if I can get a scrimmage yards CeeDee Lamb, but let's
break
say
it down to about 80. I think maybe 70,
Okay, so CeeDee Lamb. Ooh, man, that's tough though. I wonder if any of those games were against the Philadelphia Eagles. Because
Thursday
there's a
night.
good chance that they could have been, because most of the time they put these Eagles-Cowboys games in prime time. So let's say, how about is CeeDee Lamb 60-plus receiving yards? You feel
Easy.
comfortable with that?
Yeah, easy.
All right, I'm going to put together that parlay, and I'll put it out on Twitter for you guys.
That's what's up, man. Good to be back. Good to be talking some NFC East football with my dog, the Beard Man. This was definitely a vibe. I got one more question before we get up out of here for you. You let me know how you feeling about this one. I want to know who you think will be the NFC East Player of the Week when all's said and done.
Do you think this is a real award, or is this an Authentic in the Beard award?
This is an Authentic in the Beard award.
Okay.
Maybe they got something like this for the NFC East.
I know they do for NFC.
Yeah.
But
I'll start if you want me to, or unless you got one.
I mean, I'm gonna go with the guy. I'm gonna go with the best player in the NFC, the best player in NFC East, the third best quarterback in the National Football League to win NFC East Player of the Week, and that is Mr. Jaden Daniels.
Going Jaden Daniels. Okay. Jaden Daniels. I didn't like all that shit you said about best player. in the NFC East, dude. I didn't like that.
I had to throw those in there.
Didn't like that one bit. You know, it's the first week. We're gonna ask this question every week.
Yes,
it's the
I love
first
it.
week. I'm going with the man on the graphic. I'm going Malik Neighbors will be the player of the week.
Okay, so this is my question though. How do we determine? Do we run like a poll on Twitter
You
afterwards?
remember
or-
when we did this last time, and I was like, man, I forget who it was, but I was like, this quarterback had 4 touchdowns, da-da-da. Then Sebastian clipped it up. Homie in the chat was like, but wait a minute. Dak Prescott had 5 touchdowns this past week. I guess we just got to gauge it. Just got to gauge it, bro. Maybe this how we'll do it. This how we'll do it. We'll come back and we'll do a poll on the next stream, and the poll has to agree with what we agree with for it to be the final.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's the way. So you went Jaden, I went Malik. We're going with the LSU connection.
Offensive, right? These are offensive only.
Hey, don't say offensive over there.
Okay, it doesn't. All right, so moving forward, we have to throw that into that wrench into the mix.
Maybe we do both next time.
Maybe we do both next time.
Maybe we do both. All right, I like that. So you going Jaden, I'm going my dog Malik Neighbors. And that's basically a wrap, man, here for, the best division in football with your boys Authentic and the Beard. We ain't done this all season. Let me get a left side.
Strong side.
I just watched Remember the Titans the other day, man. What a movie, man. You know, when Denzel Washington went up to, what was my man, Bertier, and he said, now tell me, who's your daddy? You know when we get on that bus, your mama. What a movie, man. What a movie. But definitely looking forward to this matchup. We got football tonight, man. I'm excited. Going to be watching this one from the crib. And then Sunday, man, Red Zone. I heard they're adding commercials to Red Zone. Not that big of a bummer, but could be worse. And then Monday night, we got another matchup here. It's an exciting opening
We got a
week
game
for the NFL.
tomorrow night, too.
That's right. The Friday. That game is overseas, right?
Brazil.
Yep.
It's the last Friday night game the NFL can do for a couple of years.
That's what's up. I'm going to miss some of that because Maryland has a game on Friday night, so I'm going to be filming that game. It's going to be a good week of football, though. I'm looking forward to this. And then I think most importantly, coming back to the table and to the drawing board when we come back next week to digest the information that has came out from week 1. And I think that's going to give us a much better solidified gauge of like where our teams are headed in 2025. So I'm really looking forward to that, man. But any last words before we get up out of here, man? This was definitely a blast, man. It was good talking ball with you again.
No, just make sure you guys give us a follow on Twitter. And good luck to everybody who's participating this year in the fantasy football leagues. We're super excited about this season of Authentic in the Beard. A lot of work has gone in the offseason by Authentic, and I'm just glad to be back and rocking with all of you guys. I don't even have to tell you guys what to do. I see all the biceps in the chat. But, it's going to be an exciting next couple of days. We got football is back, baby.
Yeah, man. College football as well is definitely a whole entire vibe. We got one more super chat before we get up out of here.
Big shout out to Dean for the $4.99 super chat. Says salute to y'all. Looking forward to this season and the fantasy league. Running this back from the top. Need them Cowboys to get bum rushed tonight.
I kind of want the Cowboys to win, man, and make things a little bit more of a equal playing field in the NFC East, man. You know, you don't want to see the Philadelphia Eagles running away with this division again, man. And only 3 losses last year. I mean, it's definitely going to be some an uphill climb for teams like my team, like the New York Giants. I know you kind of feeling a little bit more confident, but can't wait to see how this all pans out this week. You know, if Jaden Daniels and that Commanders offense go out there and don't put up over 24, I think there's going to be a little bit of concern, a little bit of rust, and that's what I'm hoping for, a little bit of Terry McLaurin or, Lermy Tunsil and Josh Connolly Jr. inexperience within the Cliff Kingsbury system, and hopefully that presents some opportunities for my squad to go out there and handle business. Big shout out to Dean, though, one time, man.
Definitely possible.
Definitely possible. I like this reserved version of the Beard. You know, you caught him last year, wild card round. This dude was up here like, we're going to the Super Bowl. That kind of shit. And it's good to see him a little bit back leveled, man. It was good to talk some ball today. And, big salute to everybody that's been supporting this channel throughout the years, throughout the offseason. We've been grinding. We went live damn near every day last week and the week before that. And you can expect more of that this year, man. Like, it's just going to be a lot of impromptu stuff. I think that me and the Beard are going to stick to Thursdays being our preview show. But outside of that, expect a stream at any time. Who knows? Maybe a late night vibe. We got to do them hip-hop vibes on the channel this year as well, talking about some albums and things like that. But we're going to be active this year, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a long season. Don't forget about the Giants and the Commanders being featured on HBO Hard Knocks once we get to December. Yeah. Hopefully we're all in the mix when that presents itself. But y'all know how we end every show over here on Authentic and the Beard. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams, because the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound, and a life without dreams is a life in black and white. Rest in peace to the podcast GOAT and New York legend, Combat Jack. And that is a wrap, y'all. We will catch y'all. Who knows, man? Maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after that, maybe the day after that. We're going to see y'all when we see y'all. Y'all enjoy y'all Thursday night football tonight, and best of luck to the New York Giants and to y'all Commanders fans, Cowboys fans, Eagles fans, all that good stuff. Best of luck to all of you guys as well. We'll catch y'all on the flip side, man. Y'all enjoy y'all football Thursday. Peace.